Welcome to Building the Future. I'm your host, Kevin Horick. You can check out new episodes of the show every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. If you missed an episode or want to get more information about the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Brian Bailys, co-founder at Ascent. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show. I think what you guys are doing is super important, but maybe before we kind of get into that, let's get to know you a little bit better and kind of cover your background and where you grew up.
Okay. So I grew up in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. I grew up in a very middle-class family and went to college at The Ohio State University, graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration.
Okay.
An accounting degree.
What made you want to take that in university?
My father had a public accounting firm.
Okay.
And I, thought it'd be much easier than trying to go get my own job, go work for my father.
Okay, interesting. So I'm curious then, did you graduated university, did you go work for your father?
I went to work for my father back in 1981, and we had a small regional firm, and I practiced tax and IRS audit support.
Okay, how long did you do that for?
Well, the firm ended up merging with a large regional firm, and I did that for about 12 years.
Okay.
I had a very entrepreneurial flair, so I wanted to go out and do my own thing.
Okay, so what made you decide to kind of eventually leave that world and do your own thing?
Restrictions on what I could do and what I couldn't do. So, some people were telling me, what clients I could take on, what I couldn't, and I was pretty full of myself at that point and full of a lot of ego, and said, I don't need you, I'll go do my own thing.
Okay, interesting. So what did you end up starting?
I started a consulting practice.
Okay.
And I worked for high net worth individuals.
Okay.
And I did soup to nuts for them. I did everything. I was family office before the term was even vogue. And those individuals did a lot of private equity investments.
Okay.
And so they would, throw these really thick books at me and said, what did I get myself into? And so that's how I learned the private equity business.
Okay. So how did you land these kind of big name or wealthy kind of clients? Did you just through your network or?
No, they were clients of the firm.
Okay.
But they were clients of my father's and friends of my father's for a long period of time. And I had three clients, and each of them I had done something for them that they were very appreciative of, and they decided to go forward with me.
Okay. Interesting. That makes sense. So I'm kind of curious to know a little bit more what you guys or what you did exactly with these kind of clients. Like, obviously you were helping with their tax kind of stuff.
Tax, estate planning, if they needed to lease airplanes, handle their audit work, work with their investment advisors. But I was pretty much the lead on their private equity, and I got very active into private equity as a result of those relationships. So I had my own deals. I worked on their deals and some of my own deals.
Okay, so when you say your own deals, what does that exactly mean?
I was part of a number of startup companies, early stage companies.
Okay, and so how did you kind of decide which companies to work with?
Well, people would approach me with ideas.
Okay.
And if I saw an idea I liked, I would, get involved.
Okay, so
that might be.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Might be helping them to raise capital, helping them to put their initial business plan together, playing, a C-level role. I've really, had a myriad of experiences. I mean, I've taken out the trash, and I've also been CEO. and sometimes at the same time.
Interesting. Okay. So, based on kind of your background and whatnot, how long did you kind of run your own consulting firm?
Well, I had run my own consulting firm till approximately 2 years ago.
Okay. Okay.
And
And what made you decide to kind of close it down and do your kind of go on to your next phase in life?
well, I'm an alcoholic,
Okay.
and I had a very, very bad relapse,
Okay.
and I was put into the hospital in a partial hospitalization program, and I was not ready to go back to work.
Okay.
And based on my experience in treatment, I decided I wanted to change my career.
Okay. Interesting. I think like there's a lot of people kind of in the startup space that struggle with, well, anybody or any space really that struggle with this. So you left treatment, and then what did you end up doing?
Well, I was in severe, severe depression. There were 7 other people in that room. I basically couldn't get my head off the table. And those 7 other people were very different from me socioeconomically, but very much the same. And they helped breathe hope back into me. And what happened is, unfortunately, 6 of the 7 of them relapsed within 90 days.
Oh wow, that's sad.
And I thought there's just got to be a better way.
Sure.
So I had a bunch of time on my hands. I did a whole heck of a lot of research. I talked to some of the foremost authorities in the country on recovery.
Okay. Wow.
And what I learned is that the real gap in treatment is continuing care. How do you care for somebody post-treatment?
Sure.
And so as a result, I made a number of connections and put together a program that basically put together an e-recovery tool, an app with live peer recovery support.
Okay.
And I decided that's what I want to do for a living.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So, how did you kind of go about co-founding this? Obviously, you found a co-founder.
Yeah. So what happened is, I have a master's in mistakes.
Okay, sure.
I have been doing this. If you do early stage for a long time, I've had some successes, but I've had some incredible failures. And one of the things that I realized early is what I'm good at and what I'm not. And
sure. I think that's
so
super important, though.
Absolutely. I mean, I knew I shouldn't be the CEO of this company or the COO, and I also knew I didn't have the clinical expertise to be able to put this together. So I was incredibly fortunate to get matched with an organization that had almost all the expertise that we needed.
Okay.
And not only did they lend the expertise, but they also put up the startup capital.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
It was awesome. It is awesome.
Sure. Yeah. So tell me more about the company and exactly kind of what you guys do.
So the name of the company is Ascent.
Okay.
And what we do is our mission is to try to reduce the rates of relapse in this country, which are up to 90%, by the way, within the first year.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that high.
It is, yeah, it's off the charts.
Wow.
And we have, such a problem in this country now with heroin.
Sure.
It's an epidemic.
Sure.
And it's not getting better fast. So what we're trying to do is to keep people connected.
Sure.
If you can keep people connected, they have a chance at recovery. When they isolate, they're gone.
Got you.
And so where do people connect today? They connect through their cell phones.
Sure.
Kleiner Perkins said that people look at their cell phones, their smartphones, up to 150 times a day.
Sure.
And so so our app keeps people connected. We basically ask them survey questions. If we see that there's a problem, we have a live coach that reaches out to them. Now, they reach out virtually.
Okay.
So, for example, if I answer a daily survey with, a no answer when it should have been yes, my phone's going to ring.
Interesting. Okay. So okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So, we're really, really excited about what we're doing. The app that we decided to instead of building our own, we decided to license one that had documented outcomes.
Okay.
And having documented outcomes in this space is gold.
Sure.
And that's what we needed so that we can have the credibility to be able to sell into the markets that we're looking to sell into.
Sure. So I guess, like, what markets are you in then currently?
We started in drug courts. Drug court is an alternative to incarceration.
Okay.
So if you have a nonviolent crime, drug crime, they'll give you an opportunity to get treatment as opposed to being put in jail.
Sure.
And
Okay.
it's the savings is huge. I mean, with the average cost of incarceration over $30,000, if we can keep people out of jail, we're all better off for that.
Sure.
So drug courts is one. Treatment facilities. We're in discussions with correctional facilities.
Okay.
We're talking to hospitals,
Okay.
other healthcare organizations. I mean, there are, a myriad of uses for the tool.
Sure. I think that's really cool. So, and I think there's kind of a growing problem. Most of my listeners are kind of entrepreneurial or kind of in the tech space and whatnot. And I would say, there's kind of this up and coming kind of issue, even in like Silicon Valley and other parts of the country, just in tech companies, where people are getting kind of addicted to certain things because they need to be always on, right? And, they're
Very
working
true.
long hours, they're working, and just it's almost insane how much some people are working, and they turn to things and then they end up losing their job because it kind of destroys their life, right? And partly basically why I wanted to have you on the show, because I think sometimes people don't feel comfortable necessarily going physically to meetings or places or whatnot, where, with your tool, they can almost do it a little bit more anonymously and kind of in the comfort of wherever they want to be, whether it's their apartment or house or whatever.
That's absolutely correct. So many people that have substance use disorder have social anxiety.
Sure.
They can't go to a meeting. They physically cannot get themselves to go to a meeting. And we understand that. In fact, many of them can't even talk on the telephone. So, they have texting capabilities.
Sure.
Now, one of the capabilities of our solution is that we have chats, peer-to-peer chats.
Okay.
So, somebody wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning, they're going to have somebody they can talk to. They can either talk to a peer recovery coach or they can actually talk to a peer.
Okay.
So, yes, your point is extremely well taken.
Yeah, no, I think that's super important. So I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into kind of exactly, how to use the app, kind of what features and services you guys offer, just for the listener out there, that are kind of, maybe struggling with this, that are maybe a little bit more private about just wanting to get help.
Right. So, first of all, anybody can go to ascent.org.
Okay.
And there is a demo in the store. We not only are we a B2B play, but we just opened up our B2C.
Right.
And so, every consumer can buy the app if they'd like.
Okay. And what does it
and
cost?
There's a good video. The app is $30. It's not the app. It's really the Ascent solution.
Okay.
So the solution is 24/7, 365 peer recovery coaching.
Yeah.
And the e-recovery tool, and it's $35 a month.
Okay.
And we offer a 10-day free trial.
Okay.
Of the solution. So, when you asked about the features of the app,
sure.
One, we do a daily survey.
Okay.
We do weekly surveys. We try to engage people through chat.
Okay.
So, on a daily basis, we'll put out, questions of the day. There is geofencing. So if the ABC bar is a trigger for me and I get within 100 yards of that, I'm going to get a message on my phone.
Interesting.
I'm also going to get a call from the peer recovery coach.
Wow.
In early April, we're going to have medication adherence.
Okay.
And then appointment reminder.
Okay.
And we are also implementing a wellness program. We have an emergency feature.
Okay.
And basically, if you hit that button, you can be on the phone in 10 seconds with
Wow.
somebody. So 3 o'clock in the morning, I want to use. I'm
Sure.
a heroin user. I'm going to use. I think, you know what, I'll give myself at least a chance here. So I pick up that phone, and I'm on with somebody that can help me. And the people that you're going to be on the telephone with are people with lived experience. Our coaches have 2 years of sobriety,
Okay.
and they have over 50 hours of training.
Wow. So who does that training?
We do.
Okay.
We retained somebody that had done a substantial amount of training for the state of Ohio.
Okay.
So now we use, very standardized training programs.
Sure. So how does it work then? Basically anybody in the nation can use the app, or is it kind of beyond that?
Well, we actually have somebody out of South Africa that's interested, but we have some programming issues we have to deal with. But
Okay.
right now, let's say it's in the country.
Okay.
And we are talking to people from, all over the country at this point. And there's been a tremendous amount of interest. We're a very early stage company.
Sure.
But we have, I just got back from a national conference out of Las Vegas, and we have tremendous interest. One of the groups that are really interested are the payers. And so we're in various levels of discussion with some of the payers, because the value proposition for the solution is incredible. I mean, if we can reduce rehospitalizations, emergency room visits, incarcerations, there's so much potential value here. And I talked about the documented outcomes earlier of the app. There is an article in the Journal of American Medicine Psychiatry from 2014 that documented a substantial reduction in rehospitalizations of chronically alcoholic veterans.
Wow.
And so those reductions were actually approximately 70%.
Well,
Now,
that's awesome.
the qualifier with that, because everybody says, oh, my God, that's amazing,
Sure.
which it is that something called medication-assisted treatment was involved with that as well. So we think the combination of medication-assisted treatment, something like a methadone,
Okay.
and the combination of our tool is going to dramatically reduce the rates of relapse in this country.
Sure. I think that's awesome what you're doing. I think, it's a much needed solution, and I love the fact that, you're building this. I also love the fact that you kind of you've been through it yourself, and I love the fact that you've also been involved kind of in the tech space before. You've done a bunch of startups or worked with people that are doing this kind of stuff, and so I'm kind of curious to know any advice for people that are looking to kind of get out and leave their kind of comfy job or company and work on something that they're passionate about. Like, how did you kind of decide to go finally just kind of chase after this? I get that it was a personal reason, but was there one kind of deciding factor for you that just kind of said, okay, I need to, go off and start my own company?
I'm primarily focused on the mission.
Okay.
I mean, I'm still friendly with 4 of the people in that partial hospitalization program. And I'm embarrassed to say, before my experience, I probably would have never been friends with those people. And they're incredible people. So, it's primarily mission focused. But look,
Okay.
At the end of the day, this is a for-profit organization. We need to make it that, because no money, no mission.
Sure.
And so I took a really, really hard look at the industry. And this is big business.
Sure.
The recovery industry is a $35 billion industry, according
Wow.
to Forbes. And I certainly have seen that. Most of the industry is focused on high-end treatment facilities,
Okay.
but there's a real trend towards lower-cost outpatient, because the payers are sick and tired of paying for people going in and out of rehabs at $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 a stint.
Sure.
So I think that we have put ourselves in a position. We have a very high-end addressable market. We have a huge demand. 23.5 million people with substance use disorder, and only 2.5 million received treatment in 2014.
Oh, wow.
So the demand is huge. And from if we're taking the mission away, which we're not, but if we are, from a business perspective, this makes a tremendous amount of sense.
Sure. No, that's awesome. So you mentioned you kind of raised kind of a money to start up. Are you kind of still raising another round, or kind of where are you at in kind of development?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
We're now raising funding to take us to the break-even level.
Got
So
you.
we have proof of concept. We have real clients.
Okay.
And we'll continue to modify what we have, but what we have works. And it was really a tremendous amount of work to get here.
Sure.
But yes, we have a round that we have recently started,
Okay.
and as we know, there's another round beyond this
Okay.
to really take us to a completely different level. But we're pretty excited about our prospects. And, again, I don't count anything until it's done, but we have an extremely robust pipeline of opportunities.
Sure. So what platforms, just for the listener, are you on currently?
When you say platform,
Like Android, iOS, the web?
oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about from a fundraising perspective.
Oh, no, sorry.
We are Android and iOS.
Okay.
Android and iPhone.
Okay. Are you building a web version at some point, do you think?
Right now, it's not in the plans because we believe to connect to people, we want to connect on their phones.
Sure, that makes sense.
I'm not saying that there won't be, but again, we're not the developer. We are very, very close with the developer. We actually have contractual relationships with the developer.
Gotcha.
But we are not the developer of the app.
Right.
Our value
Okay.
is in the solution. Our value is in the solution.
Okay. So let's talk about that relationship a little bit, because that's interesting to me. So they have an app that you license, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So do you get to talk about kind of additional features, or are you kind of a little bit tied to what they want to do, or is it a little bit of both?
We certainly talk to them about features and modifications, and they're a tremendous partner.
Okay.
They've done, they have done everything we've really asked. We, and we really like some of the things that are coming out in the future, which I haven't discussed at this point, which aren't for public knowledge. But
Sure.
the app is going to be, it's going to be really, really, it's even more dynamic than it is at this point. And we are, convinced still, because I did a very extensive study on what the best app was out there, that HS is the best app out there.
Interesting. Okay, so walk me through that process a little bit, because there's got to be a lot of people out there that, want to do something that potentially are in the same kind of boat that you're in, that, they just want to maybe acquire some technology or license some technology. So can you maybe walk me through about how did you go about where did you even start?
Where I started was I did a bunch of Google research on what apps were out there.
Sure.
And then I did searches on the phones. And so we talked to a number of the app developers.
Okay.
And after this, these extensive discussions, it was very clear to us that the HS group is who we wanted to do business with.
Sure.
So then we had a face-to-face meeting.
Okay.
And we had dinner with the CEO, and then the CEO came and presented to our entire staff. And we all really liked them. And we based it not only on the fact that they were a great app, but they were so passionate about the mission.
Gotcha.
And they were going to be successful. They were going to make a difference. And that really aligned with our values.
Interesting.
So we then entered into an arrangement with them,
Okay.
which allowed us to sell the app, and that's the relationship today. We talk multiple times a week. Several of our team members and their team members, to continue to refine and perfect. Well, not perfect, because we'll never perfect it, but certainly make the the app better and very, very scalable. I mean, we are built for tremendous scale right now.
Okay, no, that's awesome. I think that's always interesting, right? Because like I just kind of mentioned, I think people don't really know where to start, right? And I love the fact that you
Right,
basically just use Google, right? And you connected,
right.
you find that you did some kind of your own research. You obviously reached out to them, you had a bunch of interaction, you ended up meeting in person. So are they right in Ohio as well then, or?
They're not. They're out of Buffalo, New York.
Okay, so you had to fly there, they flew to you?
Right. They came and met us,
Okay.
and we actually wanted to meet the developer of the app as well.
Okay.
The original developer. The app was developed out of the University of Wisconsin,
Okay.
and the company that we're dealing with, they are developing the app commercially.
Got
So
you.
the app was developed out of the University of Wisconsin with a lot of support from the National Institute of Health. They've
Interesting.
done a tremendous job. They've been working on this for years and years and years. So we, not only did we meet the commercialization CEO, but we met the founder and developer of the app out of the University of Wisconsin.
Very cool. I love kind of stories like that where you never know once you like reach out to somebody kind of exactly where something came from, and it's pretty cool that it came out of a university because there's a lot of really good kind of software, for I guess lack of a better term, coming out of universities across North America and the rest of the world. And I think the nice thing is sometimes, and I'm not saying all cases, but there's a lot of kind of good work, and we're partnered even where I work with a local university, and we help fund some research, and we're kind of working with them on actually commercializing some of the stuff that their students are doing. And I think there's a lot of really cool stuff, and it's cool to find somebody else that I guess you didn't really know when you first reached out potentially, but there's a lot of stuff happening at these universities that people either don't know how to commercialize, don't want to commercialize, but are willing to do it, if somebody else kind of helps them and partners with that.
Exactly. No,
So
you're right.
yeah, and I think that's interesting. So you met the developer. Is he or she still kind of involved in the project? Because I
Oh
guess
yes, they're very active.
okay,
Very
so
active.
were they like a student at the university?
No, they're a professor at the university.
Okay, very cool. Okay, so but does the professor have kind of their students working on the app as well, or like as they come through the years, or
Yeah, there are some graduate students that are working on it, but it's really his baby.
sure,
And just a terrific person and very, very well respected by numerous governmental agencies.
sure. I think that's awesome, and I think like it sounds like we're in kind of a similar situation where, there was obviously graduate students and stuff working on the piece of software I just mentioned, but I think that's awesome that you kind of have this new, you almost have like new people looking at it almost every semester, right? Or at least a couple times a year. And it's interesting when there's new people. Like I get that you need somebody kind of the professor kind of keeping track of everything and kind of the vision, but it's nice to have kind of new people look at it a couple of times a year as well, right? Where they can kind of see new.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. And obviously they're smart people if they've made it that far along in university and whatnot. And so you never know. And I think the point I'm trying to get across here is there's a lot of cool stuff happening in universities across, the nation and the world, and that it's a really good, viable opportunity to partner with these institutions.
Excellent. Yes, I agree.
No, that's awesome. So without I know you kind of mentioned that you have a bunch of new features rolling out, and you mentioned a few. Is there any other thing that you want to mention that's kind of up and coming in the next few months that you kind of want to promote a little bit?
Well, I think what I'd like to mention is that we're not, our focus right now is on addiction and recovery, but we're really going to focus long term on behavioral health.
Okay.
So it's, the name of the company used to be Sober First.
Okay.
We changed it to Ascent because the name Sober First was too limiting.
Got
I mean,
you.
there are so many behavioral health issues, mental health and and addiction issues that we really need to tackle. And there's a number of things that we're working on in the off thing, to deal with those issues. I mean, right now we have our hands full with trying to launch addiction and recovery, which is terrific. But we have larger plans.
Sure, I got you. So, any story behind the name?
Well, the initial name, Sober First, is that sobriety was your first priority.
Sure.
Your first priority.
But
Nothing
like
good
Ascent.
happens unless you're sober. But the name Ascent, we were looking for something, different that really captured what we're trying to do. And as people ascend,
Got you.
they move up.
Sure.
And so that's was behind the name. So we actually did a branding process, and that's what we came up with.
Sure. No, I think that's awesome. But Brian, we're kind of coming to the end of the show, so maybe for anybody that's kind of tuning in late, do you maybe want to give a kind of a quick overview of exactly what you're doing, what the tool is, and then
Sure.
we'll close out the show?
Sure. The Ascent solution combines virtual peer recovery coaching with an e-recovery tool. And the reason that we use the mobile phone is that that's where people are connected. So if we can keep people connected, they're gonna have a chance at recovery. If they isolate, they don't. And so we're very excited about what we've created, the response to what we've created. We're definitely a disruptor. It's
Sure.
very different. But what we feel is we're filling the gap in treatment, and the gap in treatment is continuing care. So we are a solution to enhance other continuing care treatment out there.
No, I think that's awesome. So where can people find you guys online? And then if you want to mention any other social media or links?
Sure. Ascent.org is our website.
Okay.
And we have also been doing a number of podcasts, Sober Guy, Sober Nation, many of the recovery podcasts. So, we're creating a fairly good awareness of our solution. And I'm happy to speak to anybody. You can contact me through the website.
Perfect. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this. I look forward to kind of following your guys' mission and watching your continued success.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, man. Well, we'll talk soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. The music for the show is done by Electric Mantra. You can check them out at electricmantra.com and keep going in the future.